My hands tremble. But not from fear, never from fear. This tremor is like a taut string, anticipation compressed into a tiny nerve impulse. My whole body is a coiled spring, all focus narrowed to a single point. This isn't sickness. It's a call, and I tune into it like a frequency. I merge with the brick wall outside the bridge bar, breathing in the stench of cheap tobacco and fryer oil. This place reeks of night, grease, and recklessness. Perfect. Drunks are always the same. Stupid, loud, lonely, especially on a Friday evening. And me? I'm the air between walls. I know where it stagnates, where it eddies. The job demands it. HVAC and security systems technician. With keys to every hatch, access cards to every door, roofs, basements, service tunnels. They don't notice me. Their mistake. Without people like me, everything would have collapsed long ago. I move between layers, physically and fundamentally. The streets above are just a facade. The real world flows beneath, through pipes and cables. I know how to listen. The system breathes, and I hear where it coughs. "There we go, show yourself," I whisper. And there he steps out. A man in his mid-40s, flannel shirt, cheap jeans, a stumbling gait, and a nearly empty pack of smokes in his hand. He leans against the wall, breathing hard, as if he's been hollowed out from the inside. Men like him don't last long, but tonight he'll last even shorter. Hunter and prey. I'm the shadow. He's the noise. He doesn't know yet that his breath is already a target. In my pocket, my tool. A lead pipe wrapped in old black electrical tape. Reliable, not too loud. Control is key. People are like overripe fruit. Press the wrong spot, and the whole evening's wasted. And that's not why I'm here. He takes a drag, closes his eyes. Well, mate, welcome to the real Mandurah. That moment when the light from the liquor store sign doesn't quite reach the alley. It's like a final bell. I move. 1 step, 2, 3. Gravel crunches under my sole. He turns. Too late. "Sorry, mate, safety first," I mutter and strike. A soft crunch, no scream. The ringing in my ears isn't from fear, it's from pleasure. There it is. That state where everything disappears. No past, no body. You're a function. Perfect, ice cold, just like at work. Diagnose, cut, replace. I catch him before he falls. Pull him close like an old friend. "At it again, Dave," I said loudly, tossing the words into the darkness in case any stray ears were listening. "Let's get you home, old mate." Silence. Everything was going according to plan. I heaved him over my shoulder, forced a laugh. Habit. Theatrics. People believe what's convenient for them. "You've gotten heavy, Dave," I muttered as I opened the old white van. It smelled of petrol, hot plastic, and something else, maybe fear. I shoved the body inside like a sack of fertilizer, shut the door, and slid behind the wheel. The engine sputtered, but started. The Ford Transit had never let me down. I pulled onto Old Coast Road. The moon hung like a bare bulb in an abandoned bathroom. The rear-view mirror showed nothing but empty road. Easy. All clear. We'll be there in 20 minutes. And then the true triumph would begin. I turned onto the dirt track behind Hall's Head, where the road becomes a path, then disappears completely. The van bounced over ruts. Something thudded dully in the back. "Hold on, Dave. Soon you and I will get properly acquainted." A road is a border. Beyond it begins a different rhythm. And I slip into that rhythm as easily as children burrowing under blankets at bedtime, 6 and 8, boy and girl. The girl's allergic to nuts, the boy's hyperactive. But they're mine. On weekends, I take them to the beach, build sand labyrinths. My wife's an accountant, patient as autumn. Her life is spreadsheets, water meters, insurance reminders, tax returns filed on time. Mine? My order exists elsewhere, where no one checks. A double life? No, it's all one life. You just see it from the outside. I see it from within. I know where the cables run, where the cameras hide. I can erase my movements, make it like I was never there. At home, I put on cartoons, brush my teeth in sync with them, read fairy tales about lions that eat nothing but cabbage. It's not a mask. It's a system, just with multiple modes. I stopped at the abandoned Cranes Landing complex, where they'd mined and stored salt since the 1930s. I pulled out my torch. We're here, Dave. Perfect. Not a soul in sight. Just rusty gates and a faded danger collapse sign. I dragged the body inside through the side entrance. Downstairs, behind a rusted metal door, was the room. Concrete walls with salt ingrained in whitish streaks. The air smelled of salt and mold. In the center, a chair, old dental salvaged from a scrapyard. Next to it, a table with tools. My toys. I heaved the body onto the chair, strapped it down. There we go, wake up, mate, don't make me use the water. He groaned. His eyes opened, cloudy, confused. Welcome to hell, or its local branch. I picked up the pliers. Shall we begin? He was coming to now. His eyes cleared but showed no panic.
You planning to torture me?
He asked, eerily calm like he was asking the time. I froze. What the hell? Where's the screaming, the tears? That sweet moment when they start begging? Shouldn't you be scared? I cracked my knuckles loudly for effect. He smirked, not nervously but wearily, like this was all familiar.
Well, you know.
He stretched as if after a long flight.
If you just want to hurt me, go ahead. I won't scream.
I've heard plenty from my victims, but this... I swallowed. A first? Not gonna scream, what kind of game is this? See these? I pointed to the tools. They'll all be inside you soon. He sighed like I'd offered him a boring chore.
Then hurry up.
I clenched my jaw, fury rising. No, mate, as I hissed. That's not how this works. Do it properly, don't ruin my fun.
So you need me to beg?
He tilted his head like a scientist examining an interesting specimen. Well, actually, yes, I admitted, but not anymore. I set aside the pliers, studying his face. Who are you? I finally asked. A cop? Cultist? Psychopath? He sighed like someone tired of explaining the obvious.
An accountant.
He smiled.
And I found something interesting. Want to see?
What nonsense?
I was studying patterns,
he said calmly.
People's lives are just numbers. Birth, school, work, death. The variations are insignificant.
His eyes gleamed.
But I found an anomaly. I discovered the exit formula, or entry formula, if you will.
You're talking nonsense, I said. There are no formulas, just flesh and pain. He shook his head like a professor explaining a simple truth to a slow student.
You're wrong. Everything around us is equations. I've developed a model that explains deviations from the base pattern. It's simple, yet impossible. 3 variables, 2 known to everyone, the third fluctuating. That's the one I calculated.
Man, what are you babbling about? Do you realize your situation? Today you're my victim. Act like a proper victim. Don't ruin my evening.
Your victims are just repeating values.
He leaned forward as far as the restraints allowed.
But I've calculated the variable, the one that changes everything.
I laughed, but it sounded hollow even to me. And you think this will save you?
No, it will save you if you want it to.
The bunker fell silent. Even the water droplets stopped falling. I realized I'd stopped breathing. What do you mean? My voice cracked.
Do you know what's beneath Mandurah?
He asked calmly. Caves, everyone knows that.
Right, but not the tourist caves, the real ones, where they live.
Who?
Those older than the Aboriginals, who remember when there were no people here.
Tourist tales, I snorted. I know every cave within 50 kilometers. He smiled, not mockingly, but almost pityingly.
You know what they've allowed you to see? Like a lab rat knows where the food is in its maze. I spent 3 years calculating the coordinates and found the entrance.
And what's there? The question escaped me involuntarily.
The office that turns the gears of this reality, and the funniest part, they're not even hiding, just waiting for someone to look closely enough at the world around them.
He fell silent, giving me time to process. You're saying there's some kind of reality control center under the city? I hesitated, searching for words.
Well, not exactly control.
He shook his head.
Observation, adjustment, balance. They ensure the equations add up, that everything goes according to plan.
My thoughts fluttered like a trapped bird. Why? I swallowed the lump in my throat. Why are you telling me this?
Because you're part of the equation disrupting the natural balance. The universe's accountants have surely balanced their books by now. Lives here, deaths there. Your activities cause unplanned expenditures. Soon, they'll write you off the balance sheet. You see, their ledgers must balance to the last decimal. And you?
His eyes gleamed.
You're like an employee who's been stealing small change from the register for years. Thought no one would notice? They noticed. They were just waiting for the sum to justify termination. Their system operates on simple rules.
He continued.
You've created imbalance, now they'll correct you.
I wiped my face. The bunker felt suffocating. Correct me, how?
Various ways, usually an accident, sometimes disappearance, technical details.
So I looked at the tools on the table, saw pliers, syringes. Suddenly they seemed like childish toys. So what are you proposing?
I'm offering you a choice.
His fingers tapped the armrest.
You can try to rebalance the equation, or find a way beyond it. I can show you another plane of existence, demonstrate the causal connections underlying observable reality.
What a situation, I thought. Killing him would be strange, such a unique specimen, but letting him go would be stupid. Can't kill him, can't release him. What then? My mood was ruined. How far's the entrance? Where do we go?
No spatial movement required. Entrance and exit are conjugate points. Just free me from these restraints. That'll suffice.
I examined him carefully. This harmless-looking man couldn't possibly hurt me. Let's see what this amateur mathematician can do. I untied his hands and feet. He stretched and asked,
Where are we?
Old salt mines.
I know this place.
The accountant nodded.
Quite symbolic.
He approached the concrete wall. So where's your interdimensional portal? I laughed, then froze. An utterly ordinary door materialized from nowhere. Are you David Copperfield? I gasped.
No, I merely enabled you to perceive what normally lies beyond your cognitive filter. You don't see the door, not because it's absent, but due to your perception's limitations. Your mind ignores information contradicting your worldview, like the blind spot where you never see your own nose, though it's always in view.
And what's behind it?
An alternate reality configuration.
What will I see there?
I can't predict with absolute precision. Each transition reveals unique variables. Imagine multi-dimensional phase space. Every exit leads to new coordinates. The laws there may differ from ours, but enough theory. Shall we proceed to empirical research?
We closed the door behind us and found ourselves in a deserted office. Mundane interior. Desks, partitions, document cabinets. Where are we? I asked, looking around.
One of the backstage compartments.
He replied quietly.
A small fragment of the grand scheme, what I call the reverse side.
He nodded toward the window.
It's nighttime now. That's why it's empty. They don't appear at this hour.
I moved closer. Beyond the glass, absolute blackness. No streets, no buildings, no lights, as if a piece of the world had been cut out. Just void.
You can look through the documents if you want. Plenty of answers here. This is where entities you'd better not meet sit all day, writing scripts for us.
What kind of scripts?
Everything, from trends to disasters. They know what will become popular, what you'll buy, what you'll dream about, what will anger you, and what will make you cry, in advance. They calculate every individual's life while simultaneously processing entire generations.
And nobody monitors this place?
They do. It's just quiet for now, but if security spots you, there will be no talking your way out.
I looked at the window again. Why such darkness? Is this part of the trick too?
No, that's your world. You're just seeing it from the other side, like a cube, and you're on its reverse face.
Then where is this underside located?
Nowhere. It's beyond the plane. If you stay here, you'll step out of time. It doesn't flow here. And without time, there's no aging, no death, because only the living die. And you're not quite alive anymore, understand?
I just nodded.
Let's go.
He whispered, barely audibly.
And keep quiet. It doesn't matter if it's morning or midnight here. If they find us, it'll be too late.
I could barely keep up with my new acquaintance. He walked swiftly without looking back, as if every turn here was familiar. The corridor seemed endless, like a strip of someone else's dream. Smooth walls, identical unnatural light. Doors flashed by left and right, each with a plaque, and I only caught fragments of their labels. Mild degree of impossibility. Layout terrarium, localized grief. Archive of random decisions. Bureau of Anticipated Regrets, Dream Budget Approval Sector, Habit Reprogramming, Project Conflict Sector, Operational Epidemiology Department, Short-Term War Coordination Center, Bureau of Prospective Catastrophes, Economic Collapse Laboratory, Repository of Postponed Disasters. It all sounded as if the universe itself had gone mad, and yet somewhere deep inside I sensed everything here had its own logic, just not ours. And do you even know how to get out of here? I asked, more out of habit than genuine concern.
Of course.
He replied without turning around.
I wouldn't lead you into a trap if I didn't hold the other end of the thread. The door is always nearby. It's just like hidden variables. They won't fit into the equation until you start thinking differently. Stop looking, start seeing. Pull the handle and space will yield like paper under a ruler.
We turned into a narrow corridor. My companion walked ahead and suddenly stopped at one of the doors.
I want to peek into the archives. You might find answers to all the questions tormenting you. Atmospheric place, come in, don't be shy.
I stepped closer. A sign gleamed on the door. Cancelled Persons Sector. Something about those words sent a chill down my spine. Not pain, cold, like a draft from a freezer. And then a crack inside, as if something within me snapped into place. Cancelled persons, meaning former, erased, written off the balance sheet. Those no longer permitted to breathe, sneeze, desire. Those who've lost not just their names, but even their registry entries. Not criminals, not victims, not even shadows. Just error object, corrupt file, undeleted draft entity. That's it. Scrapped, get lost. Paperwork death. No funeral, no memory, no trial. And this sector, it's not about guilt, it's about status. You're no longer a subject. You're system noise, a bureaucratic glitch. Am I here now? Am I one of them? Have I already been crossed out? When? Who decided? Why didn't they ask? I've only just started living. Only just. The accountant watched me calmly, as if giving a tour. And what am I supposed to find here? I asked hoarsely, barely recognizing my own voice.
What we came for, your file.
Why do you think I'm here? Why this door? Why this sector?
I've explained that any system anomaly is a glitch. Imbalances must be corrected. Everything in this world is a mathematical model. Every person, every event, data points that must converge. You, for instance, became an instability vector, not because you're bad, but because you deviated from projected values. When that happens, the system recalibrates. You're a variable to be eliminated, written off to prevent systemic overload. Just a glitch needing correction. By this system's logic, your life is meaningless. Time to rectify that. It's not malice, just arithmetic.
The accountant opened the door and we stepped into the archive. Dark, damp, the air thickening with each breath. Endless shelves stretched ahead, swaying bulbs casting light on dark silhouettes. Figures in black robes scurried between rows, faces hidden holding lamps that skimmed the shelves. Who are they? I recoiled.
Patrons,
replied the accountant.
Once human, now slaves to this place. Their minds consumed by searching for knowledge buried here. They seek, but never find. Absorbed by the archive, just as you will be if you linger too long.
Unease gripped me. This archive wasn't just storage, it was a trap. The people here weren't merely forgotten, they were digested, ground down by endless searching. Ignoring the figures, the accountant approached a desk and lifted a lamp.
They're here because they forgot what it means to be human. Knowledge eclipsed their minds. They can't return now. This place doesn't just store archives. It consumes those who linger too long in their search. And we could be next. We must hurry. Last name? First name?
He asked calmly, almost absently, as if mentally noting our next turn. Murdock. Grayson, I said. He nodded without looking and moved deeper into the archive. I followed. The shelves of files stretched into infinity like underground tunnels. The air here didn't just smell of paper and old wood, it smelled of time. Figures flitted between the rows. Tall, short, thin, broad, shrouded in black and grey robes. They wandered, searched, flipped through pages. Some paused, eyes fixed on a shelf. Others froze over an open drawer. Some muttered to themselves like incantations no one else understood. None looked at us. To them, we were just shadows. We turned into a side corridor. A sign above us bore the cast letter M. Another turn. Now the letter G.
Now this way,
said the accountant. He stopped before an endless wooden cabinet. Its shelves were hand-numbered as if no one trusted automation here.
Not too much information. A lifetime wouldn't be enough to comprehend it all. But we only need your file. It should be here. Third shelf, yours.
Why the third? How do you know?
Simple. The first shelf is for beginnings. Some end up here before birth. When the barest outline of a future flickers in the womb, the ledger already notes it. Not a life, no, a glitch. An irreparable deviation. Words to be spoken at 6. A glance dropped at 15. A collapse starting from within, unnoticed. When a person is born, their file goes on the bottom shelf. still warm, still malleable. The paper there is like air, light, almost weightless, names barely etched, shadows of fresh dreams. They've yet to speak a word, but already unneeded, not from malice or guilt, just arithmetic. The algorithm summed these numbers and the result was null. Sometimes the opposite, a sum too loud, too bright, destined to rupture everything. Such cases are silenced swiftly, no pity, no alarm, all for balance. They've done nothing, haven't learned fear, haven't loved, but the ledger knows who holds no meaning or who holds too much. They're written off before they speak, before parents first notice something's wrong, or too right, eyes too knowing as if they already understand. The bottom shelf is full of these, those who will live a little longer but are already counted as lost, closed with a prognosis. The archive doesn't err. The second shelf is youth, when the self takes shape but remains fragile, glass convinced it's a mirror. When you first decide who to be and already choose wrong, the archive knows this is when you're easiest to discard. Not empty, but insignificant. You speak confidently, but the words aren't yours. You've picked a side, but not why. Teens, 20-somethings, those who've begun to disrupt the balance. Naively, boredly, rebelliously, chanting the same refrain across generations. I won't be like the rest. The archive doesn't heed protests. It notes and deletes. You're formed, but unprotected. Not interesting as a project, not threatening as a risk. Average, erased mid-sentence. These are the simplest to write off. They still live. Walk, argue, love, film stories on their phones. But their time is short. They think it's all beginning. The archive knows it's already ending. The third shelf, adulthood, like you. The point of no return. Not could be, but will always be. You've passed through becoming and erring. Now you repeat. Here lie those who've done too much for it to be chance. Those entrenched in mistakes or successes. Built, created, led. Didn't just live, shaped the world around them, changed others, sometimes irreversibly. You're a glitch turned systemic. No chaos in you, only structure. You act logically, retrace steps. Thus predictable, thus defined. You take lives, not randomly, not in darkness. You excise nodes precisely, those the ledger had plans for. You disrupt balance, not for revenge, not from fear, methodically. This shelf is for diagnoses, those who became systems, whose minds crystallized into spreadsheets. Because the mature don't snap suddenly. They approach the edge with measured steps. They're not discarded for accidents, but for patterns. The ledger doesn't act from fear. It acts from statistics. Too many times you've made the same choice. You're not a monster, you're a habit, not an anomaly, an algorithm. This shelf is yours, not for teens who strayed, not for the aged whose will crumbled. For established figures who became diagnoses, you are a diagnosis, and the ledger has already filed you, a deferred end. You still walk, talk, think, but it's decided. You're written off not for what you did, for what you'll do again. Fourth shelf, the elderly. Not those who lived badly, those who were normal too long, gray, flawless, until they broke. Perfect neighbors all their lives, picnics with thermoses, mowed lawns, quiet after 9. These are the ones who snap. They're not written off for age, they're written off for failing to endure. The ones who got retirement parties, who took grandchildren to the park, who had gardens, hats, stamp collections, and corpses under the floorboards. Some ran chess clubs, then brewed fertilizer bombs between matches. Others taught elementary school music for 30 years before leaving cameras in girls' restrooms, luring children into secret games. A school bus driver, 40 years without a complaint. In year 41, a full bus veered into the woods. Never saw it coming, they'll say at the memorial. But the ledger doesn't see, it concludes. A sweet old lady from the retirement district. Baker of muffins, head of the gardening club. Then a dead nurse, strychnine traces in jam jars she gifted the whole wing. Children's book authors whose laptops held folders of unnamed videos. A quiet click somewhere. A crack through their entire biography. The ledger doesn't forgive old age that chooses horror. It doesn't check birth dates, only deviations. You're still alive, but the balance is already broken. You're a rejected ending. The fourth shelf isn't just the elderly, it's collapse at the finish line. Those who couldn't bear themselves, whose final chapter became a verdict. Here, rust eating through the frame. Too late for mercy, too early for the grave. They won't die natural deaths. They'll be denied even that. And above them, the dead. Those who fell here from the first 4 shelves, written off, first from life, then from memory. This isn't an archive, it's a sump. No order, no age. A 3-day-old infant beside a serial killer in veteran's uniform. All mixed, no files, no signatures, just remnants. An old woman forgotten in a morgue. A man erased from all databases. Those who died unwitnessed, whose deaths interested no one. They're unaccounted for. Not in records, not in memories, not even in prayers. The archive doesn't discard. It keeps everything. Even what's useless now. These dead souls aren't in hell or heaven. They're on dusty beams, stacked like used handkerchiefs. Too many to sort, too old to disturb, too late to understand. Sometimes a rustle, not wind, memory, of those who still refuse to believe in their guilt, or never knew it. But memory isn't eternal. It too will fade. The boxes remain.
Must be hard to work here, I muttered.
No one works here,
Said my guide.
The ledger sends files. They're logged. The archive is autonomous. It breathes, sorts, forgets. It knows who goes where. This is the terminal. The archive has no purpose. If a file lands here, it's done moving, completed. Even if the person still breathes, it doesn't care why you're here. If you're here, the numbers have already balanced. But we need to hurry. What year were you born?
92, I replied, already knowing where to look. We moved along the third shelf. The markers were lined up neatly like on a ruler. 71, 75, 82, 87. 92, companion nodded.
Here, about 10 namesakes of yours. Look for yourself.
I stepped closer. Dust lay in an even layer as if no one had touched these files for years. I opened the first folder, not mine. The second, also no. Photos, faces, scraps of data. Someone with the same name, but a different life. I stopped at the third. The photograph, mine, no doubt. The folder was thick, well assembled, not worn. Inside, bookmarks. Early years, like in a child's medical record. Bullet points, dates, concise lines. 1992 born. 1995 kindergarten, then school. 2003 wrist fracture, domestic incident. I remember. 2005 psychological pedagogical evaluation. Conclusion, borderline anxiety. Don't remember this one. 2007 school transfer, reason relocation, no comments, no emotions. The dry dust of time, everything smooth, quiet, no questions, no anxieties. But starting from 2010, everything begins to change. 2010, first victim, Jennifer K. Location, dwelling up. Teenager, 17 years old, immobilized by a blunt metal object to the skull, transported to a bunker in the salt mines near Mandurah, bound to a chair and subjected to hours of torture with various tools. During the torture, the perpetrator became sexually aroused and reached climax. Body discarded in the bush. Victim never found, listed as missing. No signs of mental disorder recorded. Method highly common, numerous future victims expected. I skimmed through the pages, everything recorded with accountant-like precision. Notes dry as an inspection report. Steady rhythm. 26 victims. Southern Belt, Mandurah, Pinjara, dwelling up. Frequency, irregular. Method, unchanged. Strike, chamber, restraint, torture. All victims identified. All written off. Prematurely. The last entry. 2025, May 5, potential victim Troy M. May 6, decommissioned. Archived. I looked at my companion. Today is May 5th, right?
There are no dates here, but in our world, it should already be the 6th.
And your name is Troy? I asked. The lights at the end of the corridor flickered out. First one section, then another, as if a black mass were creeping across the ceiling, swallowing the lamps one by one. Something was advancing toward us, and with each passing second it became clear. It wasn't moving, it was filling everything like liquid darkness.
Security?
The accountant said calmly.
Look carefully for the door. You should know how to see it by now.
I shifted my gaze to the shelves. At first, a faint outline emerged among the dark rows, a barely perceptible rectangle, as if light couldn't fully penetrate it. But gradually, as though reality itself were reshaping, the contours grew sharper, brighter, etching out a door. It became more real, so much so that it seemed it had always been there. We stepped through, and the world changed again. This was my bunker, the very one we'd left not long ago. But now I saw it through alien eyes. What had once felt vital, the very reason I'd lived, suddenly meant nothing. I held my file in my hands. My fingers traced the pages where everything I'd done was recorded in neat, even script. No emotions, no conclusions, just facts. And what am I supposed to do with this, Troy? I've already been written off. He tilted his head slightly, studying me.
Ever heard of the ledger?
I stayed silent.
It's not a metaphor, not a fairy tale. A real thing. An artifact. Or maybe the system's core. Rumor says it was dragged here in exchange for something. A demon, an architect, doesn't matter. What matters is, it works. Whoever writes in it alters reality. Erase a street, resurrect a city, build a tower to the sky.
He paused, his voice dropped.
But there's a warning, easy to miss, woven into the ledger's very fabric. It says, no matter what you write, it will still turn out wrong. And believe me, it's true. We're too feeble to grasp what we're doing. We can't even perceive the fourth dimension. But this thing, it calculates in the 10th.
I looked back at my file. The pages were gray as ash. And this?
Your copy, a page from the ledger. Cross something out, it vanishes. Add something, it happens. But be careful. This system has no victories. Everything ends in balance. And balance?
His eyes locked onto mine.
It's always in someone's favor, never yours.
Troy said, unwavering.
Now answer me one question. Do you still want to kill me?
I turned my head slightly, studying him. This Troy, the accountant, the victim, the witness, the guide. No, what for? I lifted the folder. To hell with all that. When I have this, maybe you'll show me something else. Yes, this is unbelievable. I can't even find words to express how much I want to know more now. You can't imagine what I'm feeling. This opens such horizons that I don't understand how I could ever think about anything else. I can't just go on as before. Everything that came before seems so insignificant now that I've realized how much is hidden around us, things I never knew. I don't want to kill anymore. It feels petty and empty compared to what I'm experiencing now. I want to understand this. Whatever has been revealed to me, everything that once mattered has lost its meaning.
I might show you more, but who knows? Maybe we'll just part ways and that'll be it.
He gazed into the darkness, as if weighing options in his mind.
But I'll tell you one thing. Beyond our cube, there are those who hate you, those who destroy you. Why? That's a complicated question, and it's yours to unravel.
He fell silent, choosing words that would leave a mark.
Now you can see the door, and now you have your own file. Yes, you've been written off, cast aside, but there's a chance you could change everything, if you're careful. Just remember, you mustn't disrupt the balance.
I watched Troy and thought. I used to destroy, to tear things apart, living on shreds of impulse and pain. But now I wasn't just being offered a path. I was being handed a tool and a warning, as if someone believed I could still become something more.
Well then, I'll go.
Troy said and moved unhurriedly toward the exit.